budget fluidity. One of the biggest weaknesses I see in very large brands is not knowing where their spend's going because they're maybe working with a black box software, or they don't have good campaign naming, so they can't pull this data very easy. But it's super important because, as we know, there's 300 different strategies we can run per ASIN when it comes to Amazon advertising. So we need to know what's working in our favor. So where's my ad spend going? 4 biggest things we look at: auto campaigns, manual campaigns, branded, non-branding, ranking or efficiency, top of the funnel or bottom. Just a few other dynamics you can mix in there: product targeting, conquesting. But again, those are getting very in the weeds, and that's not what this webinar is about. The first thing we look at: auto campaigns versus manual campaigns. So do you have direct control over where your spend is going? Very important question. Or are you letting Amazon optimize towards where they think your spend should go? Now, asterisk, Amazon's auto campaigns are doing a lot better. They're actually really fantastic. I think they have more data than what we do, and that allows them to make better decisions. But there's one key flaw in an auto campaign, and that is the bid is not set on the targeting level. So if you set a $3 bid because you want to run an aggressive auto campaign, but you have a placement that's just hemorrhaging money and not converting, you can't go in and just optimize it. You have to turn it off. Now, it's not a problem, but as you know, I don't really believe in aggressive negating because bid optimization should be priority. I don't believe in turning off keywords that drove a sale because bid management is really the way to make those profitable. So this is something that we kind of highlight whenever we're auditing accounts. Now, if you don't know the best way to view this, this is a really quick tip. You go into your targeting tab, as you can see in the top left-hand corner, and you get this view. It's my new favorite view in Advertising Console. I've had a few people let me know that this was from Google. So of course, Amazon's a few steps behind. But what it allows you to see is your actual targets from all of your campaigns. So back in the old days, you had to download a search term report, or you had to open up 38 different tabs just to view your data. Now you can use this report or this view to see all of it. A key add-on is it has a conversion rate. So if you go to columns, you can actually add your conversion rate. Now, this is why this is important. For this brand, January to August, we audited. You can see that all of their top sales driving campaigns and spend are auto campaigns. So not a bad thing if they're profitable. I mean, you can see they're running really, really well, but ideally we're able to take that data, put it into a manual campaign, which allows me to control placements and bid. So instead of just loosely targeting 100 campaigns shot out of a cannon, I can take all of those targets and control them to my own specifications. So maybe Blackpin's doing well from that auto campaign. I pull it out, put its own campaign, make it rank, focus top on search, high bid. But maybe Purple Pin's not doing well, but it's still getting spin in my auto campaign. I can segment it out if need be and have a 10-cent bid because it is driving sales. They look similar, but it's not, very profitable. So this is a great view to analyze that. Highly recommend everyone going right now. Targeting tab, top down by spend. Where is your money going? Auto campaigns or manual campaigns? And if it's going to manual campaigns, this is what you'll see. This view then allows you to say, hey, how am I converting? So my top spending target is Bacon Press. I spent $15,000, driven $96,000 in sales, and I have a 27% conversion rate. That's a good thing to see when you're looking at where your money's going. On the flip side, I can quickly see, hey, shower chair is not converting as well. Maybe I need to lower my budget and my bid for this specific target because category average is 20%. So I have a listing improvement to make before I spend more money. So again, targeting tab, absolutely fantastic. One of the lifesavers. Definitely recommend using that. So next topic when it comes to budget fluidity is branded versus non-branded spend. So do you know how much of your advertising spend is going to branded keywords versus non-branded? And are your overall goals about efficiency and brand protection or long-term growth and market share? This is a major weakness for brands that have a strong external presence, whether it's social or retail or anything like that. They typically don't know what their spend breakout looks like. They think that they're running auto campaigns that are non-branded. They think that they're targeting, let's take Vapor Rub. They typed in Vapor Rub, but they're running it in broad match. And in reality, all of their terms are coming from branded. So it's a really, really important metric to look at. Now, why it's so important is, let's take this screenshot right here. If a customer types in noon, they are looking at buying a noon product. They're interested. There's some form of interest. Why else would they type in noon? I've got something in my eye also, so I apologize. But if they type in noon, they're looking for a noon product. So this is a great defensive strategy. Noon is not letting any other brands win their placements, right? It's great. They're not losing market share. It's also very efficient because it's going to convert incredibly well. They're probably going to see it at lower cost per clicks because it's the most relevant item. But there's a potential that they're cannibalizing their sales. Now, I don't ever recommend not running this strategy, but if you only have $300,000 a month to spend, what is your goal? Is it efficiency and brand protection? Or is it improving top line sales and gaining market share? That is the most important question you can ask when you're looking at this strategy. Maybe you need to segment 30% of my budget to branded. Maybe you have an influencer campaign going on externally, which means you need to cover this even more. But those are the discussions we need to be having internally and making adjustments based off of. Now, let's take the flip side of that. Electrolyte for hydration. Anyone who types in electrolyte for hydration probably doesn't know exactly what they're looking for. Or maybe they think they're looking for liquid IV, but they obviously don't know the product well enough, or else they would have typed in liquid IV. This is a non-branded search term. And as you can see, liquid IV is dominating, 80% of the placements here, which means they're probably driving, we're going to say new to brand. It doesn't necessarily mean new to brand, but again, I'm considering it from the consumer mindset of, if a customer types in an electrolyte for hydration, they didn't exactly know what they're going to purchase. So we are showing them our products because maybe they weren't as high of purchase intent. So this is a very important distinction in branded and non-branded traffic. This is how we've chosen to view it. Instead of looking at past 365 purchase history to say, yep, this customer is new to brand, we're considering it from what they type in. Because maybe they bought liquid IV a year ago, but they didn't really love it because they would have typed in liquid IV. That's a really important distinction that can help us segment our data better. Now, this is also a weakness within advertising console as of yet. I believe they're planning on changing it, but new to brand sales is only on sponsored brand ads. And the new to brand sales is based off past purchase history, not customer searches like I'm recommending. So anyone who's getting new to brand data from their agency is probably just pulling sponsored brand ads from this. But a better way to look at it, again, is on the search level. So one thing we do is we pull all of our search term reports. We don't look at it at the keyword level. We want to look at it at the search term level. And we just segment that data. How much of our spend is going to branded versus non-branded? How much of our sales is going to branded versus non-branded? And should we shift that budget over? Now, the answer to that question is what our top line goals are. If you're heavily growth oriented, protecting your own brand name is probably not going to do you very good because you're already driving that traffic. You're just cannibalizing it. If your goals are efficiency again and market share, then there's a fine balance between both of those. So definitely take a look and pull this data on the search term level. Now, I didn't explain this very well earlier, but the reason we pull it on the search term level is because a lot of people will set up non-branded campaigns and they will target the term permanent marker. So permanent marker, but they'll target it in broad and they will not negate their brand name. So even though when you're in advertising console, it looks like it's a non-branded term of permanent marker, in reality, it's actually just driving Sharpie permanent marker sales on the search term level because it's broader phrase. So that distinction is super, super important. You have to heavily negate your brand name and set things up in a way that kind of reinforces that you don't have a lot of that crossover. So rank and market share strategy. I think this is more important than ever before. We saw a shift, in the last 6 months where there was a terms of service change that influenced our rank manipulation strategies for everyone who used external strategies. And more than ever before, we're seeing kind of this tacos disruption where advertising just makes up so much at the top of the page that if you're not doing anything with Amazon ads, it's really hard to get visibility. So we've had to start segmenting out how much of our spend is going towards rank. We set up campaigns specifically for this purpose. We focus on top of search because it looks the most like an organic placement. We focus on exact match, so I have direct control over my budget, and we look for high volume, high conversion. Now, if I'm running a rank campaign, I need to look at different KPIs. ACoS is not always going to get us there because things are very expensive nowadays. And then, are you tracking your tacos to help influence ad decisions? So this is probably the biggest point of conversation for kind of small businesses, mid-sized brands, is their tacos is averaging higher and higher. And that's either because one, they're over leveraged on ads sometimes, or two, they're not tracking their organic rank. So we've been pulling a kind of somewhat aligned tacos on the ASIN level. And then if we see our tacos goes up, we then ask ourselves, what is our advertising to organic sales ratio? Are the majority of our sales coming from ads? Yes, we probably shouldn't cut back on ads. We're going to see a top line sales decrease. Are the majority of our sales, coming from organic? Yes. Okay, we're probably over leveraged on ads. Now, I ran through this quickly. I have another video on this topic as well that's much more specific. But at the end of the day, like, what we want to look at is, let's identify the keywords we want to rank for. Coffee, important keyword. Shout out to this placement right here. This is a store spotlight. That's a side note, and it allows you to drive to 3 separate subpages. Amazing ad. But back to the point of this, identify our main keywords. Coffee, we want to rank on that. All right, now we need to track performance. So let's go back to that search term impression share and say, hey, maybe I shouldn't be trying to rank on coffee. My conversion rate is a fifth. Is that right, math? Yeah, a fifth of what it is for coffee K-cup. Maybe I need to, one, improve my conversion rate before I'm ever going to try to compete in that space, or two, let's shift my budget to coffee K-cup because I'm converting that much better. That's an important distinction. If you're bidding on the top of search exact match keyword and your conversion rate is terrible, it's not the ad's fault. It is your listing's fault. Because when we're running Amazon ads, we don't have creative control. If they click on the ad and then decide not to purchase, that's due to your listing. So this is a great way to say, hey, I shouldn't be trying to rank on coffee. My conversion rate is terrible. Instead, I should be ranking on coffee K-cup, but my cost per click is going to be $8. So as long as I'm okay with identifying that weakness, then we set up the very specific campaigns, which help us drive scale. Now, rank's really interesting. There's 100 different philosophies on how much it all weighs. We're never going to figure that out. I love the concept of rank manipulation and hacking the algorithm, but Amazon's smarter than us, and they're not going to give us that data. So I like to focus on the basics, which is to improve my organic rank, I need to have a great conversion rate, ideally better than category average, and I need to drive high volume. So I select those keywords in which I'm already converting well on. I figure out which ones need rank improvements. I set them up into specific rank campaigns, and I drive very high volume to top of search. So again, set aside budget for this. This is super important. A lot of people have unrealistic expectations when it comes to rank. At the end of the day, it's volume and conversion rate. Here's kind of what we like to look at is how much of our spend is going to branded, how much is going to auto campaigns, how much is going to Nexus, which is our long tail keyword research, how much is going to rank, and then shifting based off conversion rate, CPCs, click-through rate. So yeah, very important topic. A few additions to the slide we covered earlier is how do we build out these campaigns? Rank within the campaign name, only target 1 to 2 keywords. So that way I can control my budget. I can say, hey, I want to spend $500 a day on this keyword. If it doesn't perform well, lower your budget. If it does perform well, scale your budget. Keep track of all of the data and then make adjustments immediately because you have good naming. If you have good nomenclature, it's so easy to go into Ad Console, identify the strategic campaigns you have and make adjustments based off your overall goals. I'm going to quickly run through ad type usage. This is another thing we look at when it comes to budget fluidity. Already discussed most of this, but getting a high level macro view of how much of your spend is going to ad types can allow you to identify weaknesses and low hanging fruit. So we like to pull it in last kind of 90 days. We pull out all of our ad types. Now, sponsor brands and sponsor brands video have recently been combined, which is going to make this a little bit more difficult. But you can easily see, hey, these are my benchmarks. This is where I have opportunity to scale. This is a great example of our conversion rate for sponsored display. It's pretty dang low. So I probably shouldn't be spending more on sponsored display unless my goals are to move up the funnel. On the flip side, I can see like, hey, my sponsor brands ads are going incredibly well. Conversion rate's really strong. Let's push more. So probably the last step that we're going to look at when we're looking at our budget